It took us 8 and 12 years to figure out that we were actually in a cult and this guy was our abuser.
I would have died for that place because I so genuinely believed in it. I decided it's time to finally break my silence. 4 years ago, I announced to the world that I was no longer working for the tattoo shop that I grew up in, and it shocked a lot of people, myself included. You know, over the past 12 years, I've seen these people get away with a lot of dirty shit. But I think it's safe to say it's just gone too far, you guys. But let's cut to the chase. It's a cult. I myself, along with dozens and dozens of other artists who escaped before and after me, have sustained a lifetime of psychological abuse. And if you would have told me 5 years ago that things would go down the way they did, I would have told you you were batshit. If you so much as insinuated that my boss shouldn't be worshipped, I'd cut you off. I took everything this man ever said in my presence like the word of God himself. If you ask anyone who worked with me, they will tell you you are looking at possibly the most loyal cult member they ever had. I mean, aside from my husband, who else has our master's face tattooed on their body?
This woman explains how she grew up in a cult and tells us how she managed to escape.
Let's start with the tattoo. So, my husband and I met in a cult, and we're the only ones who got our master's face tattooed on us. I got mine done first, and the guy who did it, it's not really his style, so I don't love it. Kind of looks like a grape. The tattoo that you guys saw is the very first portrait I ever did. It's on my husband. We honestly thought we would never regret it, as stupid as that sounds, but that's like where we came from. That's our mentor. That's the person who brought us into the industry, and he was like our dad. But it took us 8 and 12 years to figure out that we were actually in a cult and this guy was our abuser. But to be petty assholes, we decided to decorate my husband's because it was the shop's 17-year anniversary. We thought, what better way to celebrate 17 years of abusing young adults and children?
So if you can't tell, I was committed. I would have died for that place because I so genuinely believed in it. I was a broken 15-year-old child with a f***ed up life. Joining this crew gave me a reason to live and a place to belong. It never mattered what I went through in my life because I had this family in my corner, and that's all I've ever really known. I met my husband in that shop. I got married in that shop. I raised my children in that shop. Kenny and I were his left and right hands, and we were hardwired to protect him and the shop at all costs. And we were never going to leave. This was far more than a job. This was our entire identities.
I know most cults are religion-based, but I was in a workplace cult, which I've seen the comments, oh, that's just a toxic workplace, it's not a cult. And at first I thought that too, but it was so much more than that. I invested so much of myself and my soul into these people and earning my spot in the pecking order. There was no one who was ever going to take that away from me and all that I had worked for.
Everyone is afraid to speak to each other, and they dedicate every moment to prematurely set everyone in position, ready to attack the person next to them. If you worked with them, you're taught to love them like family. But if they departed, interacting with them is betrayal, because we can only trust people who want to work here for the rest of their lives. In fact, if you're currently employed at this shop, do you guys know it's not normal to be screamed at in a professional environment? It's not normal to be called a stupid bitch or a dumb c***. It's not normal to be scared to walk into work without praising your boss's presence. It's not really normal to be scared at work in general. Did you know it's not normal to work somewhere for 12 years and never make a higher percentage than the person who just started? Did you know it's not normal to only hire young girls because your bosses learned that males are too combative? Did you know it's not normal for your boss to grab you by the hips, the love handles, or to be constantly just touching you? Did you know it's not normal to have your grown-ass man of a boss come up behind you and spank the part of your thigh that's right underneath your ass and jiggle the fat? It's okay if you didn't know that. I didn't, but I knew that if I ever so slightly expressed how deeply uncomfortable I was, he would explode. He would be so deeply offended. There's no doubt in my mind he would fire me from my job, and I would have to say goodbye to my career and all the hell that I had already paid for that far in. It was not normal for me to ask myself where I went wrong when the man who was supposed to love me and protect me like a father started looking at me like I was the one who gave him the wrong impression. That guy. The fear tactics. The Stockholm Syndrome. But most of all, who I became while I was climbing up the totem pole. The things that I did and the way I abused my family members because he convinced me they were a threat to the foundation. I turned on my own husband when he started opening his eyes about what was really going on in the shop. This was all he had known for 12 years since he was 16 years old. That man was the only father figure he ever had, and he was so traumatized once he saw the truth for what it really was. And I turned my back on him. I let him go through that alone. And I'm still trying to figure out how to forgive myself for that.
He tried to tell me what he was noticing, and I stuck my fingers in my ears and screamed over him to try to drown him out. I didn't want to fucking hear it. I said, Kenny, not you too. You're a fucking traitor. How could you do this to him after everything he's done for us? Why does everybody turn on him? But the damage was done. My eyes were fucking wide open and I couldn't unsee it. When I finally opened my eyes and I came to my mom and I was like, something's f***ed up, Mom. Something's f***ed up. Like, how did I miss all of this? I had all the pieces. How did I not know? Did you know? She was like, Yup. I was like, what the f***, Mom? How could you not tell me? She said, Desiree, everybody tried to tell you. But anytime someone slightly opened the envelope, you pushed back. It dug you deeper and deeper into them, and nobody could have told you. You were so hard-headed and so committed that nothing could have made you see. So we just had to go along with it and hope that one day you would see for yourself. I couldn't go back and put my blinders back on and believe in the magic of my home anymore. And I hated my husband for ripping that away from me. One day my husband just couldn't take it anymore and he quit his job and he backed out of the parking lot with his finger up, and our boss told me, we don't need him, we still have each other. He was gonna let me divorce my own husband and rot away in that shop. It's very likely that if you have a relationship with someone who happens to be in a cult, that cult has already instilled doubt in that person's mind about you. So if you even slightly reveal yourself to be unsupportive to what they're involved in, they're likely already set in a position to discard anything that comes out of your mouth. If I didn't have the breakthrough moment that I did right when I did it, I don't know how far things would have had to go before I got out. And I think that that's the part that f***s with me the most. I didn't want to go out the way everyone else did when they left. I didn't want to give him some bull excuse to save face just to avoid the explosion when he gets confronted. And he sure as f*** didn't see it coming that his most blindly loyal, dumbass young Padawan for the first time stood her ground and didn't buy his bullshit. I caught him in his lies out loud and he was so flustered. And he couldn't even wait for me to pack my before he started pulling them aside one by one, twisting the narrative, turning them all against me. And they went hard on the alienation, harder than they've probably ever gone on anyone. They all thought I was this diabolical mastermind who destroyed our selfless leader. And maybe that was my own karma, you know, for how I treated people for him. And as light as I felt to be out of that hellhole, I was so terrified. Luckily I had Kenny, but we were alone. I was finally achieving my childhood dream of opening my own tattoo shop, and there was no one to be proud of us. Or so it felt like. I thought no clients would follow me, but it was quite the opposite actually. I built my own crew. Most of them are refugees from the same cult, and together we changed the way we ran the game. My deepest empathy goes to the people who are still trapped in there. But I'm so happy to say that almost everyone I worked with got the fuck out. It makes me sad to know that there's still these young manipulated kids being subjected to that shit. They do not deserve the hell that they're being dragged through. But congratulations to my old boss for making it to the top. How does that feel? I hear it gets lonely up there. And if you do end up watching this, I just really want to ask, how far do you have to fall before you finally take some goddamn accountability? How bad does this have to get before you actually change how you treat people? And I can't help but wonder, will you ever feel bad for exploiting us? Because we both know you don't, and I don't know if you ever will. So why do I feel bad? That's probably the Stockholm Syndrome. The reality is that this whole family dynamic is a facade. Fear is their fuel, and their power is an illusion. They've only maintained power because of our silence. They say don't burn bridges in this industry, but consider all this to be the gasoline on mine. You guys did a lot for me. You also did a lot to me and took everything from me. So you can ruin my relationships, you can smear my name, but never again will you take my voice from me.